And salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys joining me for the video today. In it, I'm going to go over the top 32 options at wide receiver. So I have your ones, twos, and some flex options all covered as well. I want to give you guys the best information that I can to help you make the greatest decisions possible to crush your opponents and go get a crucial dub in week number 11. Every player in your lineup is going to make a difference as you push for that playoff spot. Now, if you are new to the channel, thank you for joining us. First timers, please consider dropping a like on the video if you find yourself halfway in enjoying the content. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss anything. Relentless Press is bringing content Monday to Saturday. I usually drop it at 12 p.m. Pacific, so it'll be there when you need it. And I do 10 videos or more every single week. With that all done, let's hop into week 11's wide receiver rankings. Claiming the top spot, and rightfully so, is Justin Jefferson. He made his case for the best wideout in the league last week, making potentially the greatest catch in NFL history in the Vikings comeback against the Bills. He has been a top 4 wideout in 4 of his last 6 games. And if Stefon Diggs cannot stop Christian Watson, what the heck is he gonna do against a Jet? At 2, it is Stefon Diggs against Cleveland. He saw a massive 16 targets last week. It was his 4th double-digit look game in the last 5. With the Browns giving up the 6th most yards per completion, those looks are going to turn into big-time production. In the 3rd spot is CeeDee Lamb. He is looking to ball out for his 3rd straight week after already posting back-to-back top 12 performances. The Vikings are down their top corner, and they've been vulnerable in the passing game all year, so I think Lamb feasts. At the top of tier number 2, and then at 4, it is Davante Adams. He is doing everything in his power to get a dub for these Raiders. However, it's not exactly working out. Now, he has turned 31 targets into 272 yards and 3 scores in his last 2 games, so I'm not sure what more you could ask of him. After destroying the league's 2nd-ranked pass defense last week, the question is, can he elevate and do it again against the league's best? I, for one, am not betting against him. To round out my top 5 is DeAndre Hopkins. Nuke has 13 or more targets in 3 out of the 4 games that he's played this year, and he will be the focal point of the offense once again. I do not think that the Cardinals have much of a chance of moving the ball on the ground against San Francisco, so it's all gonna fall on Nuke's shoulders, and he can deliver. I have T. Higgins way up at number 6. He has yet to have that truly explosive game this season, but I have a feeling that it comes in this one against the Steelers. Pittsburgh allows the 2nd most touchdowns through the air. We know that that is Higgins' specialty, and they also allow the 2nd most points per game to the position, so Higgy is going to capitalize. In at number 7 is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He rewarded owners last week who kept the faith in him. He turned 11 targets into a $119 and a score, finishing as the overall wide receiver 10. New York has been able to stymie wideouts all year long, but when Detroit goes to the air, it is going to come St. Brown's way, and he is too talented to not buy that volume. To number 8, and it is A.J. Brown against Indy. He did get a little banged up last week, apparently just rolled his ankle. He's already said that he is good to go and that it is not a big deal. I think he'll be fine. The Colts' 2nd-ranked passing defense is not inviting, but after what Davante Adams did to them last week, I think there's hope that he can put out a big game here. At the top of tier 4, I have Deebo Samuel next. He's received just 13 targets over his last 2 games, but thankfully he was at least able to get some work on the ground last week against the Chargers. I'm expecting the targets to come back and help him get on track. Rounding out my top 10 is Chris Olave, who has been struggling as of late, posting 2 finishes outside of the top 45 in his last 3 tries. Now, his 5 targets last week were his lowest total since way back in week 1, but the Rams are a great team to get right against. They allow nearly 29 points a game to the position. Gabe Davis flies up my rankings. He's here at 11. He finally got back inside the top 10 last week. He had that solid performance against Minnesota. More importantly though, he saw 9 targets against the Vikings, which is a season high for him. If Josh Allen continues to feed him, owners are going to be very happy. Courtland Sutton is the last wide receiver one that I have for week 11. He did not have a huge performance last week, but he also saw 9 targets, and that is the second time he's done that in his last 3 games. There's also the fact that Jerry Jeudy does not look like he's going to be able to give it a go, and Vegas has allowed the 3rd most passing scores on the season. So I think Sutton has a really good chance to break his 5-game scoreless streak. Sitting atop tier number 5, my lucky number 13 is Terry McLaurin. He recorded his first double-digit target game of the year against Philly, and he's ended up dominating them on the season. As long as Mr. Bud Lighticky is in at quarterback, Scary Terry is going to feast. Brandon Aiyuk is my next man up. He has now made it 4 straight games with 80 yards or more, so at this point you just have to buy that floor. He has clearly got something going with Jimmy Garoppolo, so continue to ride it until the wheels fall off. Tyler Boyd is up next. He has not been able to capitalize thus far on having that number 2 role in Cincy's passing attack with Jamar Chase out. However, I think that changes in this game because I'm not sure that Cincy is going to be able to run it all that much, and when they air it out, Boyd is going to be one of the people they look to the most. Amari Cooper is at 16. The Bills just gave up nearly 360 passing yards, and Amari needs a bounce back game in the worst way after stumbling to a wide receiver 67 finish last week. The other 2 times that he has finished below the top 50, he's followed it up with a top 12 performance, so there is plenty of hope in this game. Darnell Mooney is way up in my rankings at 17. He sits atop tier number 6. He has not had consistent looks for most of the year, but he is averaging 7 targets in his last 5. If he gets that type of volume against this Atlanta defense, which ranks last in the league against the pass, he has a chance to put up his best finish of this season. My next man up is DeVonta Smith. He did indeed get his turn last week. He had 8 targets and he also scored a touchdown. It was his first one in the last 3 games. I think he's involved plenty here as long as he is healthy. So remain vigilant through reports to make sure he gets past that knee injury. Joshua Palmer is at 19, and I am going to rank him right now as if he is the number 1 wideout. However, that being said, there is a chance that not only Mike Williams comes back, but Keenan Allen could make his return as well. Palmer has been mostly underwhelming outside of his excellent Week 9 performance, but this matchup makes stars out of almost anyone that is on the field. To round out my top 20 is Garrett Wilson, who put up back-to-back finishes inside the top 15 prior to the bye for New York. He racked up 208 yards on 14 catches in those games, so he clearly can produce. And he also has a great connection with Zach Wilson, which is going to be tested against this elite Patriots secondary. They allowed just over 23 points a game to wideouts, which is 3rd best in the NFL. Sitting at the top of tier 7 is Allen Lazard, who is currently dealing with a shoulder injury and even worse, might be losing the number 1 job as a wide receiver after Christian Watson's big performance. For now, he's going to remain a solid option until we see who truly is the apple of Aaron Rodgers' eye. Michael Pittman Jr. is up next. He continues to slide, and the bleeding does not look likely to stop here. Philly is going to be fierce after their first loss of the season, but at least Matt Ryan is back. His presence gives Pittman a chance of posting his first top 35 finish in about a month. In at 23 is DJ Moore, who should rebound against a Ravens defense that's allowing over 31 points a game to the position, which is 6th most in the league. I am not sure that having Baker Mayfield back helps him much, but Moore has just 53 yards on 12 targets in his last 2, so it certainly can't get worse. Diontae Johnson is at the top of tier 8. He boasted his best finish in over a month against the Saints, but he certainly did not do it in impressive fashion. He did tie for the team lead in targets. He also had the most receiving yards, so that's something, and at this point, I have to take it. Jakobi Meyers is in at 25. He posted a big game against these Jets back in Week 8, finishing as a top 12 play. I doubt that he's able to bottle up that magic here, but Meyers' floor is enough to have him as a decent flex option. Rondale Moore is in at 26. He has been a revelation, so I hope you took my advice and picked him up when Marquise Brown went down. Moore has been a top 21 play in 3 straight games, and even better, he's seen 23 targets in his last 2. Now, San Francisco is probably where he hits the wall, but he's got more upside than just about anyone in this range. Adam Thielen is up next. He is currently on a 3-game scoreless streak, but he has not dropped under 7 targets or 49 yards in any of those games. So at least if you are playing him, he has not been killing you. I think he is a sneaky solid play against a Cowboys secondary that allows top 12 points per game to the position. Christian Watson is at the top of tier 9. He should be the priority pickup this week after going off against Dallas. Now, is it a fluke? Probably, but I want to pay to be able to find out. If he ends up being Rodgers' new number 1, you will be happy that you did. George Pickens is up next at 29. He has scored in 2 out of his last 3, but the biggest issue for him has been his targets. He has just 7 of those in the last 2, so that makes it a gamble to place him in our lineups. I'm not sure in this game that the Steelers can move it much on the ground, so I'm betting Pickens sees 6 or 7 looks here. To round out my top 30, I have Brandin Cooks. He would have had a solid day had his 19-yard touchdown not been called back in the 4th quarter, but as it stands, he was out-targeted by Nico Collins, and that certainly is not ideal. Pick Collins up if you need some depth at the position, and hope that Cooks can rebound in a great matchup. Donovan Peoples-Jones is in at 31. He paid off my faith in him last week, recording his best game of the season against Miami. DPJ racked up 99 yards on 9 targets, and he now has 4 straight games with at least 70 yards. I think he's going to be a solid addition to rosters down the stretch with Deshaun Watson coming back. The last wide receiver that I have in week 11 is Drake London, who finally broke out of his slump, scoring for the first time since week 3. He has 13 targets over his last 2 games. That's the most he's had in back-to-back weeks since weeks 4 and 5. Certainly good news for owners. Now, the Bears have been solid against the pass all year long, but at this ranking, I am willing to chance it and hope that Atlanta isn't once again allergic to the pass. And that is everything for the wide receiver video in week 11. Really hope you guys found some information that was valuable to you and is going to help you make better roster decisions moving forward. Please drop any questions that you have down below. Comment on what you thought about my rankings. Always open to constructive criticism. As long as the trolls stay away, I am more than happy. If you guys enjoyed the content, drop a like on the video for me. That helps me out so very much. And then subscribe to the channel to keep this thing going forward. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opatz, and I will see you next time.